Hello, this is Bob from Prawn Designs, and I'm going to demonstrate how to assemble my flat pack card trays today. I'm going to start with a real simple tray, a single deck tray. All my trays have similar designs. There's sides, backs, and bottoms. They all have a finger notch, so you can grab the deck and pick up the whole deck at one time. On the arms that come together, there's some little notches that stick out to put a little extra drag so that they don't just fall apart, and hopefully they hold together well. All of these trays are designed to be assembled and disassembled so that they get small for putting them away, but you can also glue them together and leave them as one big piece. I'm going to start with an 11207. This is one of my most standard trays. You take the back, you take the sides. It's a single deck tray, as you can see. You assemble it together. The two sides go on the back, and then the bottom slips in. There's a tab on the bottom that slips through the back. So that's your single deck tray. Very simple. Next is a 5-deck tray. Looks very similar. The parts are very similar. Start off with the sides and put them onto the back. And these just very easily drop on here. If you have to fight putting these together, you're probably doing something wrong. And then I like to stand it up. Makes it a little bit easier to get this aligned. When you're putting these bottoms on, if they get a little bit crooked, you need to back it up and get them square. They go together easier if they're square. You need to make sure that these tabs are aligning with the slots on the back, so the back is up all the way, and it'll drop in like that. So there you have your PD 207 and a PD 206, a single deck and a 5-deck tray. Let's move up to a 10-deck tray. So this is a 10-deck tray. It's got two levels to it, so there'll be cards on the bottom and then cards up above. The top cards are offset from the bottom, so you can see both cards at the same time. It means it's a multiple deck tray. We've got a couple of different back looking pieces. We have those two bottoms. So we have the same thing. We have bottoms, backs, and sides, but because it's two levels, we have two back pieces. So let's start off with a side, and I always start at the front bottom and work towards the back top. So front bottom, with that in mind, I'm going to start assembling the sides onto a bottom that's at the front of the tray. Then I'm going to stand the tray up, take one of the bottoms, and drop it in. I find that if I stand it up, it makes it a little bit easier to get these things all aligned. Gravity works in my favor. As you get down, you want to make sure that this bottom is all the way, or this back is all the way up, and it all just slips together real easy. Lay it back on its back. I'm going to now take the second, or on its upside down, I take this piece, drop it in there, stand it up. Again, I take this piece and the bottom and wind it up, and it should drop down into place. And you need to make sure these slots line up with those tabs again. So again, that's a 10-deck tray because you'll be able to see the top of both decks at the same time. Very similar to your 5-deck tray, only it's 2 levels deep. Obviously, these are for 2 different size cards. Let's set that one aside. We're going to move up to a little bit more complex tray. This is a 5-deck tray with a discard. This is the PD 11035. So again, it's got a back, it's got sides, it's got bottoms. The bottoms have the slots in them. Again, we just start assembling the sides onto the back. Then I'll just roll it over and start dropping the bottom in. I start at the bottom front and work my way back. Make sure everything's lining up. That drops in. Then your next piece just sits on here. and it drops down in. Now this is considered a discard because you won't be able to see the bottom deck through the top deck. This is an extra tall top deck with a small discard bottom on spice on the bottom. Now to move up to a much more complex. This tray is going to be a vertical tray for 9 decks plus 9 discard spaces. The sides are all the same. We've got the bottoms, which are going to be vertical in this case, but they all have the notches, and there's 3 different sizes of those. And you've got your backs, and there's 2 different backs. There's ones with small notches, you'll notice those are tabs, and those tabs are smaller than these tabs. There's a reason for that, and we'll see that in a minute. And there's one without any tabs. The one without any tabs is going to go first. When we look at the sides here, angling back away from you, this is the front, this is the back. I'm going to start with the front and work towards the back. I'm going to take that one that doesn't have any tabs, and we're going to start assembling sides onto that back. Now I call it the back, but in this, on a vertical tray, it's more or less the bottom, so nomenclature gets a little bit weird on a vertical tray. Those all get in there. I'm going to blow it over now. Let me move this out of the way. Then I'm going to take, on these bottom pieces, I'm going to take the smallest one first. I'm going to put that on. Again, make sure the tabs line up. Then I'm going to take one of the medium-sized ones. And then I'm going to take one of the long ones. And make sure those tabs line up through those slots. Now I've got the 2 other backs. They're identical, so I'll just take one of those, slip it in. And then again, I'm going to take a short, and a long, and then again I'm going to take one of the backs. Now notice that when the backs go in, those tabs are shorter, so they don't stick through. So when cards slide in here, they won't get caught, but they do stick through, so that locks this piece in place, so it can't come apart. This tray is very strong. I take the last 2 bottom pieces, put that one in, and the last one, I always put the logo facing out on the backs of my card trays, or most of the time I should say. Now, when you look at this from the side, you can see that this deck will be covering this deck, so you've got a deck and a discard, a deck and a discard, a deck and a discard. The 3 discards are being blocked by the decks in front of them, but you've got the space so you can grab the pieces and pull them out. And again, you know, the bigger the card tray, the sturdier it is. It pretty much can't come apart unless you disassemble it from the back to the front. So you've got your 9 deck with discards. You've got your 5 deck with discards. You've got a single deck, you've got a 5 deck, and you've got a 10 deck. And that's how you assemble the Prawn Designs card tray.